Grand Rapids 911, where's your emergency?
She's gone. She's only one.
She's how old?
She's one. I woke up this morning and she was gone.
I'm sorry, you said that she's gone?
She passed. I woke up this morning and she's gone. She passed.
You're saying that she's deceased?
Yes.
On August 22nd, 2024, at 5 p.m., Grand Rapids Police received a 911 call. This would expose one of the most severe cases of child neglect the department had ever seen. The caller was Brooklynne Ray Davis, a young mother reporting that her 1-year-old daughter was deceased. But this wasn't a sudden tragedy. This was the culmination of months of neglect that would reveal a pattern of mistreatment so severe it would ultimately be ruled a homicide. Brooklynne Davis was born and raised with connections spanning from Michigan to Texas to North Carolina. Brooklynne's life had been marked by instability and isolation long before the events of August 2024. She became a mother at just 16 years old when she gave birth to her first child. His name is Jay. When Jay was 2 years old, his father was removed from their lives, leaving Brooklynne to raise him alone. This early trauma seemed to set a pattern of isolation that would define Brooklynne's approach to motherhood. According to her own statements to police, after losing Jay's father, Brooklynne isolated herself and tried to do everything on her own. When she turned 20, she managed to get her own apartment for herself and Jay to live in, and for about a year and a half, things seemed to be going very well. But then, as Brooklynne would later tell detectives, things started to change and she got sad. It was during this period of depression, Brooklynne became involved with a man named Marcus, who would become the father of her twins. When Brooklynne discovered she was pregnant with twins, she saw it as a fresh start. She said to police, "When I got pregnant with the twins, I was happy because it was a new start for me." Now the twins, a boy and a girl, were born prematurely at around 30 weeks gestation. Though twins generally come early, I'm correct, right? But due to their premature birth, both babies required extended hospital stays and special care. They were placed on a specialized formula called Yellow Neosure and required careful monitoring. Despite these early challenges, the babies eventually came home to live with Brooklynne and 8-year-old Jay. Now Marcus, the twins' father, he played a crucial role in the family's stability, even though he didn't live with them. According to Brooklynne's statements to police, Marcus came over daily, worked multiple jobs to provide for them. He was in essence the primary caretaker when it came to the twins' well-being. But 6 months before August 2024, Marcus was incarcerated. This left Brooklynne as the sole caretaker for 3 children. Skii was the girl, T was the boy of the twins. It was after Marcus's incarceration, everything began to fall apart, as Brooklynne would later admit. She said, "Since Marcus has been incarcerated, I have been slacking and sleeping a lot." This admission will prove to be a massive understatement of the neglect that was about to unfold. And by the way, I do have her police interview. I will upload it for you tomorrow on this channel. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. So please turn on your notifications. Now with Marcus gone, Brooklynne's mental health deteriorated rapidly. She admitted to police that she had mental health problems and began drinking heavily, starting each day with at least a shot of alcohol. She would drink either in her apartment or go out to a vehicle to drink alone. The apartment began to deteriorate, along with Brooklynne's mental state. With what once became a home became a place of neglect. The conditions were so severe that the police finally entered the apartment. They were immediately struck by the overwhelming smell of urine and feces. Officer Garrett Beiersdorf, one of the responding officers, documented the horrific conditions in detail. He said the kitchen was crawling with cockroaches, both alive and dead. The floor throughout the apartment was sticky with dried food and stains. The kitchen sink contained stagnant water, and dishes with old, rotting food were scattered across the countertops. Small bugs flew around the kitchen, attracted to the decaying food. But the kitchen was just the beginning. The living room, which appeared to be used as a bedroom, contained only an air mattress with some blankets. The floor was heavily stained, and a portable crib that should have been used for the babies was instead filled with random items. The hallway contained a pantry closet with a high chair that still had old rotting food stuck to it. The hallway floor was sticky and covered in stains, and as officers walked down it, the stench grew stronger and gnats filled the air. Now, the bedroom where the twins slept was perhaps the most disturbing of all. It contained only a single mattress, placed directly on carpeting that was soiled, with what appeared to be feces and other substances. This is where the twins were expected to sleep and live. But there was another bedroom in the apartment, one that Brooklynne was initially hesitant to let officers enter. When they finally gained access, they discovered why. This room housed Brooklynne's dog. It was a pit bull that appeared severely emaciated with visible bones and a tucked tail. The room was covered in dog feces and urine, contained old dirty diapers, and had an empty bag of dog food. The window was left open for airflow, but it did little to help the overwhelming stench. The dog's condition would later be documented by the Kent County Animal Shelter. A vet report stated that it was evident the dog had been underfed for an extended period, with its spine, ribs, and hips visible. The vet noted that the neglect was clearly chronic, as the dog showed evident muscle wasting and dehydration. This wasn't just a home in disrepair. This was a place where no living being, human or animal, should have been forced to exist. Now, as the conditions in the apartment deteriorated, Brooklynne became increasingly isolated. She admitted to police that she does not allow others into her apartment often, and when she does, they are stopped in the main living space. When maintenance needed to enter for inspections, she would clean up beforehand so that they would not call on her or evict her. Family members who tried to help were pushed away. Her sister explained to police she had tried to help Brooklynne because she knew she needed assistance as a single mother of 3. But Brooklynne would allow her sister to take 8-year-old Jay places, but never allowed the twins to go. The sister said Brooklynne had pushed everyone away and won't accept any help. Now, the twins' paternal grandmother, who lived in Illinois, described similar experiences. She had only been allowed inside the residence once, and even then, she was not allowed to the back of the apartment and had to stay out front. There were times when she came to visit and Brooklynne would not let her see the babies. This grandmother would bring diapers when she visited, but noticed that Brooklynne never wanted to change the diapers. But when others would offer to change them, she would not allow this and said she wanted to do it herself. Even more disturbing were the conversations this grandmother had with Brooklynne over the phone. See, she would call her in the mornings, and she could hear the kids crying in the background. When she would ask what's wrong with the babies, Brooklynne claimed she was cooking breakfast and Skii wanted to be picked up. But when the grandmother asked to see the children over the video chat, Brooklynne would claim she could not get it to work. As the months passed, the warning signs became increasingly obvious to those who managed to see the children. A 13-year-old girl, who was Brooklynne's younger sister, had been around the children and told family members disturbing details about what she saw. This 13-year-old revealed she had never seen Brooklynne feed the children. She only saw her giving them water. When asked if she had ever fed the children herself, the girl said no. But even more alarming, the girl reported the babies were normally locked up in the back room. Now, the children's physical condition was deteriorating rapidly. By August 2024, both twins were severely malnourished. Hospital staff would later use Broslow tape. Now, this was a medical device. It was used to measure medication dosages based on a child's size. The tape, designed for children aged 3 to 6 months, was the appropriate size for Skii, who was actually over a year. So this device was there to look at 6-month-old, not for a 1-year-old. You get it? When Brooklynne was told by detectives that Skii weighed only 13 pounds when she died, her response was, "Really?" She claimed 2 months prior, Skii had weighed 22 pounds when she saw a doctor, but argued it doesn't take small children long to lose weight. The twins were supposed to be eating solid foods appropriate for her age: fruits, vegetables, age-appropriate snacks, and regular meals. But Brooklynne, you know what she gave them? Protein shakes, mini pancakes. And hospital staff discovered that these protein shakes were actually mass gainers. That's actually insane. I work out like 3-4 times a week. I drink some of these shakes. For example, the Huel ones are high in calories. The Quest ones are low in calories. It's the carbohydrate intake that's different. What I'm saying is, none of these are appropriate for an infant. But the mass gaining ones, they destroy your stomach. They're like, ugh, to give this to an infant? You stupid cow. She was given them high-calorie protein powder sold at stores like GNC for weightlifters. This was completely inappropriate. Now on August the 22nd, 2024, it started like many other days in the Davis household. According to Brooklynne's statements, she had put the twins to bed around 8 p.m. She laid them on the single mattress on the floor. Brooklynne claimed she woke up around 9 a.m. and went to check on the twins around 10 a.m. Her 8-year-old son Jay also went to check on them. T, the male twin, was awake, so she picked him up. Skii appeared to still be sleeping. Brooklynne said Skii was laying on her stomach with her head to the side. No blankets were up over or near her face. But this is where Brooklynne's story becomes disturbing. She claimed that she took T out of the room but left Skii there to continue sleeping. She then made breakfast and spent time with her other children. Around 2 p.m., she laid T down for a nap on the blow-up mattress in the living room and laid down with him for about an hour. Have a look at the timing first. She put the kids to bed 8 p.m. the night before. It's now 2 p.m. Skii is still in the same room. She laid down with T for an hour. After waking up around 3 p.m., she went to a neighbor's apartment to get some rice, but she still didn't check on Skii. It wasn't until 4 p.m. she went to the back bedroom, and what she found would change everything. When she picked up Skii, she immediately knew something was terribly wrong. As she told police, she was gone already. She was dead weight, and her skin was cold. But even in the moment of crisis, Brooklynne's actions were questionable. Instead of calling 911, she calls her mom. Phone records would later show this call occurred around 5 p.m. During this call, her mother told her, "Don't call me, go call 911. But Brooklynne did not call 911 right away. According to her own admission, after hanging up with her mother, she went to use the bathroom, then waited another 5 to 10 minutes before calling police. So she didn't call them till 5:30, over an hour after she claimed to have found Skii, approximately. When Brooklynne finally called 911, her statements were very inconsistent. She told the call taker, the operator, that her daughter was unresponsive and gone, and that she had woke up that morning and her 1-year-old daughter had passed. But when the call taker tried to clarify when she had found her daughter, she changed her story, saying it was about an hour before calling. She then explained that her 8-year-old son had gone into the room around 10 a.m. to check on the child. He told her it looked like she was sleeping. Remember, what actually happened is she went in, picked up T, and left Skii in there. Now she's blaming Jay, saying, "Oh no, Jay told me she's asleep, so I left it at that." When the call was transferred to medical dispatch, she told them it looked like she'd been gone for a couple of hours, and these constantly changing timelines would become a pattern throughout Brooklynne's interactions with police. The operator dispatched emergency services immediately, but the damage was already done. By the time responders arrived, there was nothing they could do. Grand Rapids police officer Kaylin Stevens was among the first to arrive. What she found there would haunt her. Skii was lying on the blow-up mattress in the living room, and her condition was immediately shocking. The officer reported Skii appeared to be severely malnourished, and her eyes appeared sunken and dark. She also observed a wound on the inside of her right leg. When fire department personnel asked Brooklynne about this, she claimed Skii's diaper leaked last night. However, the firefighters told her this wound would not have occurred from one incident of her diaper leaking. But Brooklynne insisted that's what happened. Fire department personnel then began life-saving measures, but it was cleared Skii had been deceased for some time. Her twin brother T was also on the mattress, and his condition was equally alarming. Officer Stevens noted T appeared lethargic as he was unable to hold his head up. He himself appeared small for his age, but not as malnourished as Skii. At one point during the emergency response, T began vomiting a purple substance. This was so concerning, the paramedics transported him to the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, where he was admitted to the ICU. Now, while police were there, Jay, the 8-year-old, was present. He appeared to be very nourished but dirty. Officers noted that it is unknown when he was last given a bath. The time of death was officially recorded at 5:54 p.m. The medical personnel believed Skii had been deceased for much longer. Now, as patrol officers secured the scene, detectives were called in to begin what would become a complex investigation. Detective Brianna Pearson was assigned as the lead investigator, and she immediately began documenting the horrific conditions and interviewed Brooklynne. The apartment conditions were so severe, officers reported getting body lice just from being inside. The smell was so overwhelming, people passing by in the hallway were making comments about it. There were bugs everywhere: cockroaches, house lice, fleas, and gnats. In the bathroom, the bathtub was filled with water, and it had a yellow tint and a film on top. That is fucking disgusting. The children's bedroom floor was covered in what appeared to be feces that had been caked into the carpet. The entire apartment had a terrible odor of urine and feces. Detective Pearson noted that there was minimum furniture throughout the apartment, other than the blow-up mattress. The portable crib that should have been used for the babies was instead filled with random items, making it unusable for its intended purpose. Now, Tom Wodorek from the Kent County Medical Examiner's Office arrived at the scene. After examining the child's body and the conditions in which she had been living, his assessment was clear and devastating. Skii's physical condition told the story of prolonged neglect and starvation. Her skin was tight against her bones, particularly visible on her ribcage, neck, and collarbone area. Her eyes were sunken deep into their sockets, and her head appeared disproportionately large compared to her emaciated body. The wounds on her inner thighs were severe, open sores that appeared to be scabbing in some areas and raw in others. According to Brooklynne, these were from a diaper rash that had developed the week before, but the severity suggested prolonged neglect of basic hygiene needs. Some of the scabbing was accompanied by feces, indicating that the child had been left in soiled diapers for a long time. There was also deep wounds that appeared healed or mostly heated, along with skin discoloration on her front waist area, suggesting this neglect had been ongoing for some time. Now, Skii was a very small child for someone who was over a year, just about. She appeared emaciated and weighed only 13 pounds. For comparison, a healthy 1-year-old girl typically weighs between 17 to 21 pounds. Now, on August the 23rd, Pearson attended the autopsy performed by Dr. Cole at the Kent County Medical Examiner's Office. The results were as devastating as expected, but they provided crucial evidence for the case. Dr. Cole ruled Skii's death a homicide, with the cause of death being malnutrition and starvation. He noted the child was also severely dehydrated. Most importantly, Dr. Cole explained that this was an intentional act of starvation on behalf of the caretaker. This wasn't an accident or a case of a parent struggling to provide adequate care. This was, in the medical professional's opinion, an intentional act that led directly to the child's death. The autopsy results would become crucial evidence in building the case against Brooklynne, providing medical proof that Skii's death was the result of deliberate neglect rather than an accident. Now, while Skii had died from the neglect, her twin brother T was fighting for his life at Ellen Children's Hospital. Detective Michael Tagliavia was assigned to monitor T's condition and gather evidence related to his care. When T arrived at the hospital, his condition was critical. He was lethargic and staring forward, not responding to much around him. Shortly after arriving, he began vomiting heavily. Now, the hospital staff, they described his vomit as having a chocolate milk type consistency. Ugh. He had abrasions on his right leg where the skin was rubbed raw below his knee. He had discoloration on the inside of both thighs that appeared to be bruising. The skin on his feet and toes was extremely dry and cracking. Most disturbingly, T had bed bugs in his hair and had to be given a bath by hospital personnel after being photographed. What the fuck? They collected T's clothing as evidence, along with samples of the vomit he expelled. Dr. Fedorovich from the ER treated T initially, noting that his condition was critical. He was then transferred to the ICU, where he remained under intensive care. The medical team discovered T was suffering from malnutrition, dehydration, similar to his deceased sister. His recovery would be long and uncertain, but unlike Skii, he had been found in time to save his life. Now, after the initial investigation, Brooklynne was allowed to leave the scene. However, as evidence mounted and the severity of the neglect became clear, detectives knew they needed to bring her in for more questioning. On August 24th, Officer Chase and Gray received information Brooklynne was staying with her father. Now, through database searches, officers located her father and discovered he was using an address in Kentwood, Michigan. Kentwood police responded to the residence and made contact with Brooklynne's father, who was with a female he claimed was his granddaughter. The female appeared younger than expected and had pink hair, but due to a lack of cooperation, officers were unable to confirm her identity and left. 2 days later, the U.S. Marshal Task Force was assigned to locate and arrest Brooklynne. After checking several locations, including the courthouse and Bethany Christian Services, they received information that she might be staying at a hotel with her mother. The task force checked several hotels before receiving a tip. This tip was that Brooklynne had told CPS she was at a hotel. Detective Wirtz located Brooklynne in the parking lot of the west side of this hotel. She was in the back seat of a vehicle with her mother driving and a male passenger in the front seat. Brooklynne was taken into custody without incident. Her cell phone was seized as evidence and she was transported to Grand Rapids Police Department for questioning. So Detective Pearson and Detective Weston interviewed Brooklynne in the major case interview room. Remember, that will be uploaded for you tomorrow, but at least now you have a huge background on the case. So, Brooklynne began to reveal the full extent of her neglect. When asked if she would be going to jail, Detective Weston was honest, explaining she had to have an idea of what was happening. Brooklynne's response was telling. "I didn't do nothing intentionally to my baby," she said. Brooklynne began by talking about her mental problems. She explained how after losing Jay's father when he was 2, she had isolated herself and tried to do everything on her own. When she got pregnant with the twins, she saw it as a new start. But after Marcus was incarcerated 6 months before the incident, everything fell apart. Now, I know Brooklynne is the main person in this case, but Marcus, there's a lot of questions. What the hell were you doing getting incarcerated? You just had twins, you muppet. Brooklynne admitted Marcus had been the one who really took care of the twins, coming over daily and working multiple jobs to provide for them. With him gone, she said she had been slacking and sleeping a lot. Brooklynne confirmed she was the only caretaker for the children and that she didn't allow others into her apartment. When maintenance needed to enter, she would clean up beforehand so they wouldn't call her or evict her. She acknowledged that the conditions in her apartment were unacceptable, saying that children should not be living in that condition. She was embarrassed about her physical condition and the state of her home, so she avoided contact with others. When people were around, she would try to make it look good. And perhaps most damning was her admission about her daily routine and care of the children. She talked about how she doesn't care of herself and doesn't eat much, admitting that she might not have been taking care of Skii the right way. She said she sleeps a lot but tries to make sure at least everyone eats breakfast. She explained that it was easier to care for Jay. He can take care of himself. He can cook for himself. She continued to talk about how she sometimes gets up and will take care of things and sometimes will not. She also revealed her problems with alcohol, stating that she normally starts the day off with a shot at least. She would drink either in her apartment or go out to her vehicle to sit and drink alone. One of the most disturbing parts of Brooklynne's confession involved her explanation of the severe wounds on both twins in her thighs. When detectives asked about the rash, she acknowledged that she knew it was bad. She said she tried treating it with A&D ointment and Vaseline, but it got worse. When asked if it was due to her not changing the children's diapers, she admitted it had to be. "Well then change the diapers, you dirty cow." Her explanation of the children's routine was horrifying. She would put the twins to bed around 8 and not get them up until 10 a.m. the next morning, which is 14 hours. If the children were sleeping with her, she would change them overnight, but if they were in their own room, she wouldn't get up because she was lazy. She never took the children to a doctor for the severe diaper rash because she thought she could handle it herself. Even more disturbing was her revelation about bathing the children. She claimed her bathtub had been clogged for about 2 weeks, but when confronted with evidence that the tub was actually filled with filthy, stagnant water, she changed her story about when she last bathed the children. When detectives told Brooklynne that Skii weighed only 13 pounds, her response was "Really?" seemed to indicate she had no idea. She wasn't aware how severely malnourished her daughter had become. She claimed that a few months prior, Skii had weighed 32 pounds, but argued it doesn't take long for children to lose weight. This statement showed a fundamental misunderstanding of child development. Healthy children don't lose nearly half their body weight in a matter of months. Now, Brooklynne admitted that she was feeding the children, but probably not how she was supposed to, and claimed she had never gone 24 hours without feeding them. However, her definition of feeding them was giving them inappropriate protein shakes, made from mass gainer supplements and occasional mini pancakes. She said she did consider that the children weren't healthy, but she was scared. She recognized that they were losing weight, which is why she bought the gainer shakes. But even this attempt at nutrition was inadequate for growing toddlers. Now, on the day she found Skii deceased, she claimed she had gotten tea up around 10 a.m. and left Skii sleeping. She fed tea and then went back to bed in the living room for approximately 4 hours. She was scrolling on her phone. She didn't check on Skii until around 4 p.m. And throughout the investigation, detectives gathered substantial evidence to support the charges against Brooklynne. Her cell phone, which she voluntarily provided, contained crucial information about the timeline of events. Detective Kevin Snyder performed a forensic download of the device and discovered that most of the calls and messages had been deleted. This was significant because it suggested Brooklynne had attempted to hide evidence. The phone record showed that there were numerous calls around the time of the incident, including a lengthy call with someone identified through Facebook as having distinctive face tattoos. One call lasted approximately 2 hours during the time when Skii was allegedly sleeping and Brooklynne was supposed to be caring for her children. So a child is dying and she's flapping her gums on FaceTime. Perhaps most telling was the absence of recent photos or videos of Skii on Brooklynne's phone. While there had been regular images and videos of children up until the beginning of August, there were no new images, save since then. This suggested that Skii's condition was becoming really bad and she did not want to document her children's life. As the investigation continued, detectives interviewed numerous family members. They said she had isolated herself and her children from anyone who might have intervened. Brooklynne's mother hadn't seen the children in 4 years. She normally saw them only on FaceTime. When she tried to video chat with children, Brooklynne would not let the children be seen. The twins' grandmother in Illinois described similar experiences. She had only been allowed inside Brooklynne's apartment once, and even then, it was restricted to the front area. She would visit and bring diapers. Brooklynne would refuse help with changing the children and wouldn't allow others to do it. This grandmother would call in the mornings and hear the children crying in the background. When she asked what was wrong, Brooklynne would claim she was cooking breakfast and that Skii wanted to be picked up. But the grandmother was never allowed to see the children in the video. And you also had the revelations from Brooklynne's 13-year-old sister, who had been around the children occasionally. According to family members, this young girl revealed she had never seen Brooklynne feed the children. She also reported that babies were normally locked up in the back room. Now, Jay, the 8-year-old son, he was interviewed by police. The interview revealed both the resilience of a child trying to survive these conditions and the extent of the neglect. Jay described home as kind of good, but he didn't like it. He said his favorite thing about the apartment was his pay place and his friends were there, but it was small. When asked about the babies, Jay became quiet and said one of them died. He explained that he would sometimes take care of the babies and make them oatmeal or other food. He said they would eat anything except for the vegetables, and they cried a lot. Jay said he was sad and didn't want to talk about the babies because his sister died and his brother is in hospital. Wow, for 8 years old, that's tragic for him to talk about that. He was clearly traumatized by what he had witnessed. The interview revealed that Jay slept with his mother and the babies rather than in his own room. He described that they slept on a mattress on the floor. He confirmed that his aunt would sometimes come over and that she had been at the apartment the day before police arrived. This corroborated other witness statements about family members trying to help. So, on August 28th, Prosecutor Becker approved charges against Brooklynne Davis for homicide, felony murder, and child abuse. Detective Pearson completed the probable cause affidavit and signed the warrant form. Pearson requested a high bond and GPS tether as a condition of any release. Brooklynne was now facing the possibility of life in prison for the death of her daughter and the mistreatment of her son. The case of Brooklynne sent shockwaves throughout the community. How could a mother allow her children to deteriorate to such a state? How could the system have failed to intervene? The surviving twin, T, remained in intensive care but was eventually released. Now, as I said, her police interview, I'll show it to you on this channel tomorrow. Her case is still ongoing. She's awaiting trial. These details were so disturbing. So that's the end of the story. Now, I want to go through all the crime scene photos with you because this house was disgusting. Some of the photos I didn't show during the video. I think this is the front door, maybe. Maybe this was the door number or a thermostat or something, but it's been redacted by police, as you can see. So this is the kitchen. Now, you see this Muscle Tech mass gainer? This is what she fed to the child. Essentially, the twins did not eat for days, and then she gave them this. I don't know if any of you have ever taken mass gainers or high calorie protein shakes. They're so heavy on the stomach. You're talking between 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrates. In liquid form, that's going to make you feel, bloated and in a food coma or whatever. Furthermore, you got dirt on the actual countertop. This is a DS or something? I don't know. She has a TV here. This is a close-up of the mass gainer shake, and you can see the blow-up mattress behind it. Now, I don't know what a desk chair is doing by the kitchen. Either the police put it there, or my guess is one of the kids was playing or something and put the chair there. I don't know. Either way, the chair looks like it went through World War II. I mean, how big is your ass to wipe up all the leather? This is the microwave. So this is the stove top, and as you can see, there's mess everywhere. And these are coils. So was there any gas in the house? These are electric coils. Am I right? This seems to be oatmeal or grits or something. You've got an empty bottle of, I don't even know what that is. This is a bottle warmer. And then just look at the Tupperware on the actual stove. Yeah, is that grits or is that oatmeal? I don't know what that is. It looks revolting. So this is the other side of the counter. So you see these boost shakes. Let me move my face for a second. You see the boost shakes. So she would get the boost shakes. In fact, let me see if I can zoom in on the nutritional content. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can. 250 calories. I think, let me zoom out. How many grams of carbs? I don't know. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because obviously this is not good enough or it's not adequate enough for children, but she was mixing the boost shakes with the weight gainer. After not feeding them for hours or days, she'd give them that. So you got a watermelon here, some onions here. Sorry, let me move my face back. This is like a George Foreman grill, right? No, it's a hot plate. This is a hot plate, sorry. Again, more Tupperware. This looks like takeout. This looks like a candle. Again, just a mess everywhere. A close-up of the hot plate. Who knows when the last time that was cleaned. So this is the sink. This is like a baby's bottle. Even look at the sink. Is that lime scale? Holy Moses. Yeah, and that's clogged there. Actually, no, that's not clogged. That's the sink... what do you call it? It collects the stuff and then the water goes down and you throw that in the trash. I forgot. The drainer or whatever. I forgot what it's called. Again, more dirt on this side. This is a close-up of the baby's bottle. One of the infants. Seems like there's water in there. Look closer. What is this? I mean, when I clean my kids' bottles, I've got that special baby cleaner thing that you just put on and then you get the brush and you clean it properly. Well, what the hell is this? That's disgusting. Now we get to the fridge, and unlike most houses where I've seen the crime scene photos, this fridge is stocked. You got all these condiments here: ranch, Hershey syrup, sour cream, jam, Baby Ray's barbecue. You got mustard there at the bottom. All these meats here, corn. Maybe a lot of this may have been Marcus's stuff because this is way too much for the kids. 2 trays of eggs, English muffins, milk, more meat down here. I mean, for a house where everything else is fucking disgusting, the fridge is well stocked. Even in the freezer, burger patties, more meat down here. So this is next to the blow-up mattress. I have no idea what this is. Is this a child's bed or something? No idea. This is obviously a diaper box. So, again, more mess on the floor. Diapers, 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 diapers. I mean, sure, you're going to have a lot of diapers with her kids, but you don't just throw them on the floor, do you? I keep mine in the pantry. Not mine, but the kids. There's trash on the floor. What is that? Looks like a bread penis. So So this seems to be her wallet or her small bag. This is a blanket. These are some kids' socks. And again, another water bottle here. And is that a diaper underneath? Yes, it is. This is her phone. Is that an iPhone? I don't know. So this is the mattress bed. Again, look at all the mess on the mattress. By the way, there's no blood anywhere that you'll see in these crime scene photos. What you are seeing is either the food mess on the floor or some kind of puke or something. So this is another room now. This is the kids' playpen / cot, if you like, which was never utilized for the children. Laundry basket. This is a thermostat. 64 degrees. Holy Moses. Freezing in there. That is freezing. I normally keep it between 72 and 75. Wow. So this is the high chair for the twins. Look at all the mess. And it looks stuck to me. It doesn't look fresh. Like if it was some kind of liquid there, it would have a different texture to it. This looks like it's been there for a while. That to me looks like maple syrup or something. And that, what is that? Tomato paste from pizza or something? I don't know. That is revolting. See, this can happen when a kid eats on the high chair, but this looks like an accumulation of like weeks where it hadn't been cleaned. The irony of these two chairs next to a mop. I mean, just look at all the dirt. And it seems to be the same stains. Similarly to what I said on the fridge, this seems to have been a well-stocked house. I mean, look at all the food in the pantry. Ghirardelli squares, lovely jubbly. I mean, to think, all of this stuff, most of it is not appropriate for, like a 1-year-old. But this oatmeal kind of is. She could have easily given the child this oatmeal instead of all that disgusting mass gainer. However, the mass gainer probably, because it was more convenient, you just put it in a bowl and you shake it. So maybe that's why she did it, as well as being fucking crackers. So this is the washer and dryer. This is the twins' stroller, as you can see, the one at the top and the one at the bottom, just outside of the bathroom. A close-up of the stroller. Dirty towel on top of the stroller. Diapers. So this is the bathroom. This is the sink in the bathroom. Now, I want to show you the bath in a second. It is disgusting. What's this? Trash here. Needs to be recycled, love. So, this is the bath, and I'm going to try and paint a picture for you, right? You've all eaten curries, right? Do you know what makes a good curry to a bad curry? I know this because I'm Pakistani, obviously. But next time when you go get a curry, right, have a look at the edge of the plate. If there's a ring of orange, you know it's bad because that's just straight oil, which explains why I'm so greasy. Now, using that analogy, have a look at the bathtub. Look at the ring of absolute shit all the way around here. I know you use the curry, which is a weird analogy, but that's the first thing that came into my head. I mean, just look. Disgusting. How long has that water been there? What even is that water? I mean, why is the bathroom clogged? This shows the kids hadn't been bathed in a long, long time. I've never seen a bathtub like this. So now we go into one of the bedrooms. And again, this is not blood on the floor. This is just straight up trash, maybe feces or something stuck. There's more dirt on the floor. That is revolting. I mean, you know what's crazy is, I have kids myself, and I mean, I'm sure in your house too, a lot of the walls will randomly have a mark on there, or there may be some stains out of nowhere because kids just run around and do a whole bunch of, their kids are doolally, right? But if you look at the floor here, this just requires a vacuum and you're done. Now, let's assume this stain here is just, a child dropping food. Let's just assume that's what it is. That's okay. They do it all the time. But this here at the bottom, that's inexcusable. Just get a vacuum and clean it. Look, I mean, just look at all this trash here. My guess is this area, this closet, if you like, was probably never cleaned. And it's not hard either. I don't know about you. I find vacuuming very therapeutic. This is a different angle of the kitchen and the fat ass leather chair. And I think this is chocolate milk or the shakes on the floor. Maybe one of the kids threw up or something, Yeah, that looks like puke to me. That is disgusting. That does kind of have like a shake texture to it as well. So this is clothes for a 12-month-old, yes. I'm guessing one of the twins was wearing this. So now we're going to go to the back room. And in the back room, this is where she kept the twins a lot of the time and her dog. She even starved her dog. So, I mean, just that alone. What the hell? Like, that's a couch. But look at the state of it. Oh, my God. But just look at that. Look at that. What the hell is this, bruv? This in itself is a jail sentence. She's currently still on trial, right? But this in itself should be, even if the children survived, you should go to jail just for this alone. I mean, look at the state of that cage. This is probably the kennel for her dog, but look at all the trash around it. Oh my days. I've never seen anything as disgusting, as revolting, as just, what the fuck is all this shit? This moron, she's got time to go down to the hair salon, paint her hair green, right? Look like Heath Ledger from fucking Batman, but this silly cow didn't have the foresight to clean all this shit. Because this isn't just one moment. This is an accumulation of crap. I mean, this makes me want to puke. But that's the end of the photos. Have you ever seen anything like this? Wow. Comment, tell me what you think.